Hi. I'm Christine Hull. I'm one of the trustees, and we are all making sure that we come and visit our great volunteers and committee members to thank them. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we want to thank you for volunteering to be part of this committee. We know how much work it can be on a committee. As a former committee member, I definitely understand how each of our committee volunteers plays such a vital role in ensuring the needs of our students and our families, and especially staff for your part. And we appreciate that our community's voice is reflected in our district governance with all of you volunteers. So thank you again for your commitment and passion to making a difference in the Washoe County School District. It does not go unnoticed and is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, this meeting of the Other Post-Employment Benefits Trustees Committee is called to order. It is 3:30 on June 26th. Welcome, everyone. Good to see everyone. First on our agenda, item 2.01, is the introduction of our newest committee member, our newest trustee to the OPEB Trust, Alex Taylor. Alex, I'll cede the floor over to you to kind of give an intro and talk about yourself and anything else you'd like.
Sure. My name is Alex Taylor. I'm a resident of Incline Village. I have 3 children and experience working in investment committees. Started my career working for Yale University. I've worked for other big corporations, Charles Schwab notably. So hope to help ensure a bright future for our dedicated public servants.
Great. Thank you very much. I think this is the first time every seat of the OPEB Trust Committee has been filled. So hopefully we can keep it that way for a while. We'll see. All right, turning over to agenda item 2.02. This is for possible action. This is the minutes of our last meeting on November 27th of 24, actually. We didn't have a quorum at our last meeting, so November 27th was our last meeting we met. Do I have any changes, corrections, or questions to those minutes?
I had a minor one. I think I was associated, without finding it right here, I think I was associated with the Giants and I was associated with the 49ers previously.
Oh,
So,
well, we'll make that.
I'm not worrying about it too much. But.
Okay, we'll make that change. Any other changes? Go Niners. All right.
But also the Raiders.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, now you're pushing it. Okay, seeing no changes, I'll take a motion to approve.
Fran McGregor, I move that we approve the minutes from November 25th, 24.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
And any public comment? Okay, seeing none, have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the minutes of November 25th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Our next item is a pretty significant one. It regards to our annual request to reimburse our health insurance fund for retiree health insurance costs. Again, item 2.03. And here to walk us through that is Mindy Capron, our Assistant Controller.
Thank you. Mindy Capron for the record. I'm officially requesting that the WCSD OPEB Board of Trustees approve the total maximum transfer amount of $5,136,520 for fiscal year 2024-25 as allowed by Nevada Administrative Code NEC 287.792. The dollar amounts that make up that 5 million are in Section A. We have a budget of 2.6 million for Nevada's post-employment benefits program, 1.3 for WCSD retiree medical subsidies, and 1.2 for WCSD retiree life insurance subsidies. And a copy of the budget's attached to this worksheet, to this request, and also our minutes from the WCSD board approving this request.
Okay.
Not sure if anybody has any questions?
Yeah, I did, Mindy. Just to confirm, we actually spent these amounts in these areas or more, correct?
Not necessarily. In the life insurance, it usually is a little bit less. But the medical subsidies would be that number, and the post-employment benefits program should be that number.
Well, so we can't request reimbursement for anything other than actual expenses, right?
Right.
So I'm asking you to confirm that we spent maybe in total then at least $5,136,520. Is that accurate?
Well, says it's a maximum transfer, but we're not finished with June yet, so we need to, see where things come out.
Okay. Okay, so what the request is the maximum allowable transfer, and then what the accounting department will do is validate that they spent at least that in each of those categories, and if they haven't spent at least that, then the actual transfer will be less than the maximum amount requested.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
Correct.
very good.
Jeff Kirst. This request was from the March Board of Trustees meeting.
Yes.
Would the chair please explain a little bit better the difference between the Nevada Post-Employment Benefits Program and our WCSD medical subsidies?
Sure. There was a period of time at which Washoe County School District employees could participate in the state PEB program. And for those folks who are grandfathered in, they could remain in the PEB program as retirees. So they can get their insurance through the state PEB program. And in that case, based on the collective bargaining agreements that existed at the time, they're provided a subsidy against those state PEB costs. Then there is a separate group of Washoe County School District retirees who are not part of the state PEB plan, and they receive subsidies on the health insurance program offered by the district. So there's really two different categories of health insurance subsidies, again, depending on whichever situation you found yourself in. And as you know, Washoe County School District employees are no longer eligible to receive any health insurance retiree subsidies. So these were generally former employees of the district who receives these subsidies.
Jeff Kirst, in going through the documents before our meeting, there are a lot of numbers in here about active employees. It was like,
Where's that?
it was in the numbers in what were sent to me.
I don't.
These are all retirees,
Yes,
official retirees.
they are all in a retired status.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the request for that total maximum transfer. And again, the actual transfer will be contingent upon a, verification of the actual costs in each of these categories.
Fran McGregor, I move that we approve the transfer for the OPEB program.
Okay, do I have a second?
Jeff Kirst, second.
Okay, do I have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, any other discussion or questions? Okay, I have a motion and a second, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, motion passes unanimously. On to agenda item 2.04. This is a discussion of the unaudited financial statements for the third quarter for the period ended March 31, 2025. So again, I'll turn it over to Mindy to walk us through that.
Thank you. Mindy Capron for the record. I'm looking at the first page of the OPEB comparative statement of net position. Our assets are listed there. Cash is $2,377,000. Our RBIF investment is $19,533,000 and some change, and then our U.S. bank investment is $74,278,680. So our net position in our assets is $96,189,846, which is better than last year by $6.2 million. And then if you want to turn the page to the statement of revenues, expenditures, and change in net position, you'll see for the column of March 2025, revenues were $4,013,000. We had very little expenditures of $59,000, and our change in our net position was $3,953,000. And I do want to point out, thanks to Mr. Mathers, the math in the variance column on the change in net position, it says -8625. It should really be a positive $1,567,526. So our net position, change in our position compared to our budget is better than the budget. It's not reflecting the right number there currently. And then we can turn to the next page. It details the RBIF account, which has the change in the assets. They've realized gains of $1.8 million. We've had interest income and dividend income, and so the change has gone up $2.9 million on a year-to-date basis. And you'll see the $77 million. That's what we transferred in there, or transferred out of there. I'm sorry, originally. So the RBIF account is at $19,533,974. And then on the last page, it's showing you the U.S. Bank OPEB account. We have unrealized loss of $728,000. That's basically making up the negative change in the net assets. We did have some interest income of $77,943, but you'll see the RBIF coming in there, and then the checking account that we had at Wells Fargo that we closed, we moved that money in there. And then last year's amount that we took out for the item you just approved was $3.8 million. So our overall net assets in the U.S. bank account is $74,278,680.
So we'll go into this in more depth in Buckhead's presentation in the next item, but just to kind of explain here, if it wasn't clear, the amount in the RBIF account, the $19.53 million, really represents, I hate to say it, but excess or surplus assets. So, and the amount in the U.S. bank account represents those U.S. Treasury strips we bought, where we defeased those projected expenses. So just want to explain that again. Tara's going to go through that in more depth, but combined, of course, then that's the total assets held by the trust under your authority. So, any questions?
Jeff Kirst, we will reduce the 96 million by our transfer that we just approved. And then in our RBIF account, that has the same asset mix that we've seen over the years for the most part.
Yeah, and Tara will go through that here momentarily, yes. Okay, this is not an action item, just for information only. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mindy, appreciate it. Our next item is our investment report presented by Tara Hagan of Buckhead Capital. And I'll just turn it right over to you, Tara.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, board members and staff. I'm Tara Hagan with Buckhead Capital, and I'm here to present the March 31st OPEB Trust Investment Report. And if you have a hard copy there, I think we start on page 32 of the board packet. And if I could draw your attention to the upper right-hand quadrant there, you can see sort of what I call three different buckets or components or accounts, however you want to label them. But it's important to note that the board's investment strategy for the trust is aligned with these three components. And so let's just go through those, starting with the matching account. And so that's going to represent that U.S. Treasury. So 78%, almost 79% of the portfolio invested in those zero coupon U.S. Treasuries. And those are meant to align or match with those liabilities in the future. So we talked about, right, the subsidies that are paid for the retiree medical, whether it's, to the public employee benefits, just the entire amount that you just discussed. So what they're doing there is looking at matching the coupon amount and the maturity date over the next 20 years to those expected liabilities. So if you peek ahead a little bit, you'll see this holdings, which is on page 37 of your handout. And you'll note that we have, starting this year, so we had a maturity last month, 2025, May 2025, excuse me, that coupon amount, that maturity date, and all the way for the next 20 years. That's that matching program. So the majority of the investments are obviously held in those zero coupon investments aligned with the expected medical subsidies in the future for retirees. And then Mark alluded to the sort of the second largest bucket there is about 21% of the portfolio as of March 31 invested in the Nevada PERS RBIF account. And that's an asset allocation portfolio, right? So you're going to have foreign equities, U.S. equities, you're going to have longer bonds in there, and then some shorter fixed income investments as well. If you turn to, what is that, page 36 of the board's packet, you'll see the returns as of March 31st with the total return of the fund at 4.3%. And you also see the allocations there with the majority, or about 43%, in U.S. equities, 17.5% in the foreign, 28% in probably aligned with more of the ag index, and then your shorter term investments there. So that makes up 21% of the account, as I mentioned. And then we do have a cash component within your investment policy that's labeled as the liquidity account. Pretty self-explanatory there. That's going to be invested in a 100% liquid money market fund. That allows, like, when the maturity of that occurred just last month, that's going to automatically, obviously we're not going to reinvest those funds, they're just going to get automatically deposited in the money market. So it gives a chance to, earn about 4.25% right now. So total assets of the fund as of March 31 was $93.8 million. We talked a little bit about the different, obviously, the majority in the matching program. At the ending market value is 73.8 million with a book value of 76.3. Liquidity, very little in there, as you can see, less than 0.5% with about 425,000. And then the 19.5 million invested in the RBEF. So that's your excess monies in the RBEF account. So lastly, on page 39, just to kind of wrap it up, the March 31st of the first quarter performance of the fund was 3.22%. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Maybe just to orient again the committee, since it's been more than a few months since we last met, right? So again, we've got our matching program that really is intended to defease future projected costs, retiree subsidies each year. We've got them laddered out every May, just assuming we'll get reimbursed at the end of the year like we're doing this year. So they're rolling off in May, which I think is the standard maturity date for U.S. Treasury strips, right?
Correct.
And so, you know, whatever we don't spend, like this year, I think the face value is 5.8. We're asking for reimbursement of 5.1, so that $700,000 difference is going to roll into the liquidity account.
That's
until
correct.
the committee decides if they want to do something different than
Right.
that.
That's absolutely right.
So every year it's going to work like this, right? We're going to come and ask for reimbursement of our costs, or sometimes we haven't, but we can't ask for reimbursement of our costs, and we've got this U.S. Treasury that's maturing every May of every year for the next 20 years that'll cover those projected costs, right? So that's the matching account. We locked it in at a good time. It is interesting. Treasuries, right, have bounced up and down, and
Yes.
at this point they were bouncing up, and so we show an unrealized loss, but it's not a loss unless we sell prior to maturity, right? So on the books, it's a paper loss, but it's sitting there, and we know yields are going to come down
Exactly.
as soon as the Fed begins easing interest rates. And then we have, like I say, 19.5 million that sits with a PERS managed account, the Retirement Benefits Investment Fund, that was set up in law for OPEB agencies across the state to be able to access an equities portfolio, because normally governments cannot invest in equities. So it's a portfolio that most OPEB trusts use for that purpose. It's passively managed. They're in basically index funds.
Correct.
Not a very exotic portfolio, Alex, as you noted. Kind of 1980s, 70s style blended portfolio. And, you know, at one time, you know, we had considered and can still construct our own equities portfolio, I do believe. But then that requires a lot of work and so forth.
Right.
But that $19.5 million is, like I say, kind of in excess then of the program we've set up to defease future liabilities. So you might ask, what's it there for? What good does it do? What do we do with that? And that is likely will be an annual decision, but it can be more frequent where the committee will be presented with options. But to me, at least right now, it's kind of a buffer against, well, we have an actuary that's projected our health insurance costs, but what if they're higher than what's projected? But you've got the 19.5 million there to cover that situation. Now, the committee could decide, I don't want to be in a blended portfolio. That's too risky. I'd rather, right, de-risk it and put it in a fixed income portfolio. So those are kind of the decisions we will be faced with and can discuss when there's an agenda item to discuss it. But I just kind of, that's where we stand as of March 31.
Yep.
In a good place.
Very good place.
So hopefully that orientation helped a little bit.
I have a question, Alex Taylor. What would be the risks to the to the matching program not meeting. Obviously, the actuary being wrong, just in terms of projected costs, so under projecting costs, what other risks would there be?
I'll take a first shot, Tara, and then if you want to add anything. I mean, right, it's an actuarial projection, so that actuary has a series of assumptions they make. One of them is health insurance costs and that inflation rate. One of them are demographic assumptions, i.e. how long people live, right? So if people live longer than what the actuarial assumption is, then obviously our costs would be higher than projected. It's a closed system. I'm trying to think of other variables that the actuary might get wrong. I think those are the two biggies, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The U.S. government was downgraded to AA a couple months ago. If you're not feeling confident about the government covering U.S. treasuries, that would be a risk. But hopefully, if that's the problem, then we got bigger problems. Yeah, buy some guns, ammo, and canned goods. Tara, is there anything else that you can foresee that would cause us to go kind of lopsided here?
No, and I think you make, the best point is it being a closed system, right? You're not having, I think when you have an actuarial and every year and you have people coming into a system, that's where you really start to get numbers that can, go
Yeah.
awry. But
Yeah.
having that closed system, I think, other than medical expenses and, an inflationary component. And I think they break down that medical, at least the ones that I've seen, of pharmaceutical and other things. And
Yep.
but that's
Yep.
really just their ability to project that 20 years out is the greatest risk, I would say.
Yeah, and they're using long-term assumptions, and
absolutely.
for any period of time, right, you can vary from that.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the health insurance field, I guess all kinds of things could happen to cause those costs to go up. Right, unexpectedly. Yeah.
Jeff Kirst, as I recall our discussions over the last couple of years, the school district is legally obligated to keep this health insurance part going, but not legally obligated to keep the life insurance portion going. Is that still correct?
That is. I mean, life insurance, we're not actually subsidizing. There's an implicit rate subsidy there because, right, retirees are getting a blended life insurance rate that's blended with active employees, so they're paying lower than what they would otherwise pay at their age. So there's that implicit rate subsidy, but it is voluntary for the district to offer that. The health insurance, I mean, that's kind of a contract right? When they were employed, that was a contract right of their employment, and then, right, we negotiated an end for new employees entering the system. But if you were an employee at the time, right, and were promised basically when you came on board, you get this retiree health insurance subsidy when you retire, then we are legally bound by that commitment. And, as we've talked about before, the district had a lot of foresight in seeding money into this account and letting it grow, by being invested in equities at a higher rate than otherwise it could in a separate account. So it grew to a pretty sizable level versus not setting aside any money for this, in which case our health insurance fund would be on the hook. So you're right, the district's always on the hook. If we blew through every last dollar of the OPEB monies, we'd still be on the hook, and we'd have to access our general fund or health insurance fund to pay for it. But having this money obviously is a comfort to retirees, and also, right, financially prudent for the district in that we don't have to use future operating monies to cover this liability. But we are absolutely legally bound. There's no way out of it. We've seen governments declare bankruptcy, and the courts have upheld the retirement contractual rights of those employees as well as something like this. So even if you could declare bankruptcy, it doesn't get you out of commitments like this to employees. That said, there is no legal right for Nevada governments to declare bankruptcy either. So, unlike California. Anyhow, yes, there's ironclad commitment.
Jeff Kirsch, so our concern about rising medical costs, which we've discussed numerous times, is still a concern. But it's not a tremendously large concern for our trusteeship here of the funds for the OPEB.
Right, I mean, it's kind of a belt and suspenders approach. You have 19.5 million to cover any unforeseen cost increases, right? And even if that wasn't their 19.5 million, the district would still have to cover it. Yeah.
Alex Taylor, I wouldn't necessarily advocate completely overhauling everything, but has thought if the biggest risk is inflation, the bond portfolio being more of a TIPS-oriented, treasury protected inflation securities.
I mean, we can absolutely talk about that at another time when that's agendized. The thought process is, again, we're defeasing liabilities, and we actually sought zero coupon securities, so there was no reinvestment risk involved in that. But absolutely, this committee is allowed to swap out of the strips we're in into something like TIPS. Absolutely. Good question. Okay, I think that's an informational item. Any other questions for Tara? Okay, thank you, Tara, appreciate it. Okay, the next item is for possible action, and these are the OPEB Trust financial statements dated June 30th of 2024. You recall our external auditors kind of playing catch-up. I think for 2025, they will be on time, but this was the last year where they were playing catch-up. So, Mindy, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk through the statements and point out any highlights.
Mindy Capron for the record. As Mark said, these are our audited financial statements for June of '24. Crow is our auditor. We've renewed them for another few years coming up. I wanted to point out on it says page 1 of their report, the independent auditor's report. The second paragraph down, this is always what I look for in these, is in their opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Washoe County School District OPEB Trust as of June 30th, and the changes in financial position for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, which means we had a clean audit, so that's always what I look for on these reports. So I wanted to point that out. Then if you can turn to page, let's see here. It's marked page 7 in the auditor's report. It shows you the asset breakdown between the three different, I'd say, spokes of the OPEB. So it's got the health benefit plan, the retiree life insurance, and the PEB, PEBP, and they break it down between those three categories for the assets.
I'm sorry, where are you, Mindy?
On page 7 of the actual Crow report. If you go, it's page 7.
I know, but okay. This, oh, is that the page?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, sorry.
it's just showing the
Got it.
breakdown of the assets between those three components.
Got it, thank you.
And then next up would be the page 8, which shows you the income, the statement of changes of fiduciary net position by the 3 components, in case you wanted to see how they break it out. And then, of course, there's notes to the financials going past that. I'm gonna go to page 14 on the audit report. At the top, it does show you what the RBIF breakdown is, the asset class. So like Tara was mentioning, foreign developed equities is 17.5%. That's the breakdown of the RBIF investments, for your information. And then the next section is where the actuary puts down the information about our liability. So we've, middle of the page there, it says our total OPEB liabilities, they're calculating at 127 million, and we have 92 million. So they're saying we have a liability still of 35 million, but all those factors that we just discussed make that number change. So, but I just wanted to point that out in this report. That's what it's saying for as of the end of June of 24. And then finally, if you go to page 23, they discuss internal controls, this letter, and it says, the last paragraph, they did not, the first paragraph of this section was not designed to identify all deficiencies in internal control that might be material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Given these limitations, during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses. So that's also an important point to point out to you, that you can feel comfortable that we got internal controls in place and these are good numbers. So that's what I wanted to report on. If anybody has any questions, I'm available here.
Jeff Kirst, on page 11, that's one of the numbers I was looking for, where it says WCSD RHP active employees. Active means active in our system, but not employed. These
That-
are people who are the retirees.
I think that's the whole base of everybody that takes health insurance, including active employees. That's the number. Because we have to give the actuary, like, who is in the program, who has our medical insurance company-wide, and then they take from there the retirees and they do their calculations, so.
As we've discussed numerous times, we have a closed system with the number of people who are in it. I thought it was around 7,000 or so. And I just kind of wondered what that number was. Active employees.
I believe it's the employees that are eligible to take our health insurance.
But they're not employees anymore because they're generally retired.
Well, these are, out of the 7,000, 8,000 that work here, these are the people that are eligible for the insurance. Because the insurance is like a subsidy, like we, the retirees and the active employees are kind of, supporting each other with the costs, so.
Yes.
That's a number that they need, is the number of people in the school district that could take our insurance.
I still don't really understand it, but maybe we could get further clarification on what that number means, because our OPEB is a closed system
Right?
with, as I recall, it was some 7,000 people in it. And that's not the people that are in here, as near as I can tell.
Yeah, this is a different group of people, but I'll get clarification for you
Thank you very much.
from the actuary.
It's a good point. I mean, we'll get confirmation of the numbers of actual OPEB covered retirees who receive benefits versus active employees. And I think Mr. Kerr's point, I guess I would tend to agree, is why we're reporting active employees for the OPEB trust, because they're not covered by the OPEB trust. And I think I think part of the answer is we're borrowing, right?
There's a math calculation
What?
on the,
Well, we're taking our notes from the district's financial statements, and that kind of serves as the template for these. And, but it's a fair question, and we will confirm that active means active and retired means retired. And get, the total census count for, confirm the total census count for both.
right.
But this would correlate to the number of benefited active employees. So in a way, we probably shouldn't be reporting that for the OPEB financial statements.
Right. I mean, I shouldn't speak because I don't know, but I think because they have to take into consideration the new, or the active employees in the district for their cost, because we share a percentage of that, so I'll definitely get a clarification and be able to report back.
Jeff Kirst, thank you for that. And then on page 12, we have similar situation with the life insurance. We know that's a blended system, which I understand fully from our chair explaining it many, many times to me. But if you could maybe shine a light on that too for our next meeting, please.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
I mean, you can see the number of active employees is the same, so, but we'll absolutely confirm, and maybe in future financial statements, we need to label this better.
Okay.
And not lump them in, because they are two separate groups, and obviously the OPEB trust only covers retirees, so.
I understand.
Yeah,
I'll,
we'll have that
clarify it.
conversation with our auditor, yeah. Yep. I know this is fascinating. I know, I know you were riveted reading this. Any other questions? This is an action item. I'll just go ahead and, if I can ask for any public comment at this time. Thomas, you want to, no? Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion then to approve the financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024?
So moved, Alex Taylor.
And a second?
Second, Jeff Kirst.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a vote here. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Our last agenda item is a schedule for future meetings. I'm hoping you were able to take a look at these dates. And make sure, if there's any problem you might have with these dates, please indicate so. We had to kind of back up these dates to the end of the quarter, so it's the end of the quarter following the reporting period, which isn't ideal, but we've had such a hard time getting reports from PERS that we decided, let's stop fighting City Hall and just move the meetings back in the quarter. I know some of these are near holidays, and so if there is an issue, we can talk about it. We can move any of these meetings. It's not a problem, but this would be your calendar going forward for, the next 8 meetings or so. Any,
Jeff Kirst, the dates look fine to me. I wondered if I could ask another question or two about some other things?
if it's not agendized, we would have a violation of the open meeting law. So you are contained, and we probably need to do some open meeting law training, I think is what what this indicates, but, you have to have an item on the agenda to be able to deliberate on that item.
I understand that. We were sent documents about the tax return.
Yes, and
That's not to be discussed.
not at this time. We will distribute future tax returns as part of your packet. This one was sent out because, right, IRS requirements are such that you review it. If you have any questions about the tax return, you can consult with staff, i.e. Mindy on that, and Alex had as well previously. So, yeah, if you want to talk directly with staff, that's not a open meeting law violation.
Thank you.
So just, I guess, as a formality, do I have a motion to approve the schedule of future?
Sorry, it's on my presentation discussion.
Oh, it is?
Fran McGregor, I move that we accept the,
Hold on, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, not an action item. Okay, sorry.
You can click discussion on availability for the dates.
Sorry, we can't, so we can discuss whether you're available or not. We just can't take a motion to approve.
Yep.
Okay, works for you all? Okay, thank you. I don't think we take public comment at the end of public meetings anymore, or do we?
We do.
Okay, I'll get this.
Action item in at the end, yeah.
Okay, so I will now take public comment. Thomas, this is your last chance. Okay, all right. All right, no public comment. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Sorry, announcement of next meeting, 3:22.
Okay, our next meeting is September 25th,
2025.
2025. Okay, now we are adjourned. Thank you.